Hey, welcome to the very first episode of Progressions, Success in the Music Industry. I figured the only way to start this journey off would be to introduce myself and summarize why I decided to start a podcast in the first place. My name is Travis Ference, and over the last 15 years, I've built a career as a mixer, producer, and recording engineer in Los Angeles. I've worked with a range of artists, from big to small, that span across all genres. I've been involved with projects that have charted, and I've been awarded platinum records. And on the flip side, I've made records that were probably never heard outside of the artist's social circle. In that time, I've learned a lot. Obviously, a lot about how to make a record and how to navigate the music industry. But there are plenty of podcasts and YouTube channels and masterclasses that have that covered already. Something that there is not a lot of talk about in this industry is setting goals and how to define what success is to you. These are things that I've learned along the way as well, particularly in the last several years. When I step back and look at the music industry around me, I see a lot of obstacles in the way that people live their lives. I can see it because I've lived a lot of them myself. For example, when you're chasing a passion, there's a tendency to believe that you have to sacrifice everything and to live the artist struggle. I remember moving to Los Angeles. I was proud to sleep on the floor of my apartment because it didn't have a bed. Made me feel like I was really going for it, even though I could afford a bed. Think of the songwriter who's working 2 non-music jobs to pay their bills and doing shows at open mics for tips. Or the producer who's making beats and selling them for $20 because they want to be cheaper than the next guy. Or the engineer doing mixes for free for every band they can find in hopes that they'll get hired back when the band blows up. These are all familiar stories. And we've all been there or are there and know others in the same boats. And we know that they don't all have happy endings, especially if you don't have a goal and a vision. Then there's something about the arts that also compels people to put a lot of focus on peer approval. For some reason, they have to judge their success by the success or failure of those around them. I spent years of my life hoping every record I did was as successful as the last record one of my peers did, and that they might notice. It doesn't matter how fulfilling the experience of making the record was, or how great the friendships you made with the people involved were. It all comes down to, was it better than something else? So combine the artist struggle with this quest for peer approval, and you have a recipe for the scarcity mindset. The idea that every gig is the last gig you will ever book, and the more gigs you do, the more chances of having a hit. And if you have a hit, then it will be better than everybody else. So on and so forth, and you've got yourself a cycle that probably ends in some form of burnout. At this point, you're probably thinking this sounds kind of like a bitter rant, and you feel like I'm probably hitting things that seem unrelated. And you're thinking, man, I don't even know if I want to keep listening to this. But bear with me just for another couple minutes. I think that if you set out on a quest to chase your dream without defining what your goals are, and by doing so what success is for you, then you will run a much higher risk of looking back one day and seeing that you ran the rat race, and sure, it was exciting, but you actually achieved very little, and at worst, ended up unfulfilled. And I'm not saying the things I mentioned earlier won't give you success and happiness. The artist struggle is probably the most exciting part of starting your journey and can lead to piles of inspiration. And striving to create the best work you can possibly create is definitely not a bad thing either, but don't do it just to spite the success of those around you. And you love what you do, so taking a lot of gigs is not wrong, but one day learn that saying yes to everything is going to leave you saying no to something else. So after all that, still no answer. Why is this guy starting a podcast? Why is he still talking? Why am I still listening? I thought a podcast would be a great way to share the stories of people that have lived through and are still living through the many parts of the music career journey that you are most likely on yourself. I'll be bringing guests on from all areas of the industry: producers, engineers, musicians, managers, and various other creatives. I want there to be a story for everyone. I don't want this just to be another interview show, though. I want to put a twist on things. My goal is to highlight a specific career milestone or a particularly successful career, and try to break down the steps and turning points in that person's life that led them to achieve that goal. I am a big proponent of setting goals and then working backwards to break down the steps that need to happen to get you there. When I say breaking things down to steps, I mean breaking them down to clear, actionable steps. It's way easier to get up in the morning and take a small predetermined step on your journey than it is to get up in the morning and, quote, get a global #1 smash hit. although you can wake up in the morning one day and have a global #1 smash hit. A lot of people in this industry put their faith in luck, and they search for inspiration from things like the muse. I don't believe the people who have thriving careers and fulfilling lives in music can look back and attribute it all to luck. Sure, people can catch a break, but you need to be prepared for that moment. At some point in their career, successful people committed themselves to a goal and they took steps to achieve it. That's what I want to focus on in this show. I want to bring to light the steps that people have taken to lead them to their successes. And for one final twist, I'd like to put my guests on the spot and ask them what their current goal is and what's their next smallest step look like. So I'm excited for this new adventure. Hopefully you are as well. Hopefully you're still listening. Hopefully somebody's still listening. I will be learning to interview people on the fly, so you'll have to give me a little bit of room for error, but I'll try my best. But I do promise to bring you guests with stories that will help you make breakthroughs in your career. I'll also be highlighting concepts and ideas in my pre-interview openings that I hope you'll find inspiring and helpful, and will make you a more productive and a more creative person, things that I think go hand in hand. Making records will always be my passion, obviously. Helping an artist get their creative vision out into the world and seeing the impact that it can have on the lives of the people it reaches has got to be one of the most satisfying experiences that one can have, at least in terms of career life. I see this show as an extension of that, as an opportunity to help not only artists reach their goals and define their vision, but also to help other people in the industry with theirs. If you've enjoyed what I'll call our introductory rant, and you're at all curious about how or if this might help you accomplish your goals, or even maybe just inspire you to start something, please subscribe to this podcast and keep a lookout for new episodes. My goal is to release episodes on a weekly basis. If you feel like you know someone who could get value out of this show, please do share it with them. A little word of mouth will go a long way for us while we're just getting started. So thanks for listening, and I look forward to going on this ride with you all, and I'll see you next time.